That one there is 40. Should I start over? So, so the bevel is 30 here, the acute angle, it's 30, 40, and 50. And they each have different characteristics I'll show up on here. And they are all hollow grind with exception of, this one's pretty flat. And I have another one, forgot to bring that out.
Can you explain hollow grind?
Yep,
Or will we do that at the grinder?
I do have it to grinder, but I'll just cover it here real quick. So this one is flat ground, and this is hollow ground. Maybe if does everybody have any questions on what the difference is? Do I need to explain that? So on your grinding wheel, if you're hollow grinding, if this is my wheel, right? I get the concave of that on my grind, right? So it's hollow ground, meaning it's concave this way. If I grind it flat across, that one, it doesn't have, you can't do that on your grinder. You could do it on like a belt grinder or do it maybe on once you get the shape, do it by hand.
You can do it on the side of the CBS.
You could do it on the side of the CBS.
4-in-1,
Yep.
yeah.
So one of the questions is, well, do I want a hollow grind or do I want a flat grind? I don't necessarily, and if you want to, you can come and try this. I know George mentioned he likes flat grind. I don't see any real difference. I find it easier to certainly grind on the wheel. So that's what I do, is most of mine are hollow ground. If anybody else has a different experience,
Yeah, I think a hollow grind is more catchy.
could be.
Once you engage, you have a little bevel there, it seems like.
Well, I would say it's more on, the catches are more on your approach to the wood and are you in the right spot at the right time, as opposed to flat or hollow. And so we'll cover that.
Tom, the beating tool you showed, did you say that was hollow ground, flat ground? We were suggested to us last week. Flat grind.
Which one?
The beating tool.
This one right here.
That one there, look at the camera.
Yeah, it could be. I don't have, I've never ground mine flat. I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I haven't seen that much difference in this flat one versus what I do. So, but,
I have a question about the material. What's the difference between this?
oh, right.
Repeat the question.
So he asked the different shapes of the tool steel, and I didn't cover that. I have basically two here, right? I have round or rectangular. So this is the round tool steel. Well, I guess you could say this is square, but everything else is, right, it's rectangular. Whoop. And then the third category would be oval. I think people would have a better experience with something flat to start out with. And there they can brace, and I'll show that on the lathe, but you'll have an anchor point and a place to go from. Whereas with a round piece of steel, you have to have the ability to realize where that edge is in space, right? And then work with it. Though I prefer that because it gives me more flexibility and I can, do what I want to do and not necessarily have that constraints of the edge. So on the rectangular ones, this is the Thompson tool steel, and you can see that the heel end is rounded over, right? That's how it comes. And then the point or toe end is flat. And the problem with having it all flat is when you want to use it with the point down, this bites into the tool rest. So I do is I come in and the first thing I would do is ease that edge with the, I might as well cover that right now. But back to the oval real quick. I don't have an oval. And the only thing I played with was someone had a really thin one and it just didn't have enough mass that it vibrate. And it was almost dangerous to use because it was so thin, it didn't have enough support in it. Maybe a larger one, which I've never used, would be acceptable, but my opinion would be certainly not a thin one, but I've never experienced using a thicker one, right? So that might be okay. And as, again, this is all some of this is all my opinions. So if you have a different experience, I'm glad to hear it. So what I would do, and this is just a diamond stone. It's got 60 and 1,000 on it. Is take this edge off, and you can go all the way up to the bevel because you're never gonna, as you grind back, you're never gonna, have to worry about that, right? Because this is the point that you're interested in. So I ease this off, and then I also do this flat because this point is very useful to have that as sharp as you can get. So I would then take it like this and do that until it's shiny and has a straight point on it. And you can do the same on the heel too, though you're probably not going to have as many issues there. So like that. So that's kind of the prep work on the rectangular stuff you buy. Is you're going to usually have one side rounded over. You would probably want to ease the flat side, so when you flip it over and use the point, you're not digging into tool rest. And then you want to smooth that side up so that you got an exact sharp point on the end. And then I'm going to cover grinding a little bit later too. So this is more of the preparatory work. So we have oval, rectangular, round tool steels. We have, I start with a bevel of around 40 degrees. And then, so if you're grinding, 1/2 of that is 20. So we'll see when we get to grinding that you would be grinding 20 degrees. 20 degrees gives you 40 at the acute angle. That's a good place to start. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the perfect bevel, but you can go to 30, which is this one. And then you could go up to 50 maybe, which is, again, this one. And then the front skew angle could be straight across, which is the beading tool or the Badan parting tool. And then go all the way from 70, which is this one, 70-ish to maybe 60 there. All right. Any questions on bevels, skew angles? Yep, so when I sharpen, do I do it on a grinder or use the hone? So I'll just say a bad habit I had so I made this tool, I don't know, 15 years ago. And it was the same tool steel as that. You can see how much shorter it is. So I used a grinder for years and then, okay, well, maybe I should think about that. And, like Alan Lasser or something, well, you should hone that, So then after you've gotten your grind, really all you need to do is hit it with the hone and hone that. So if you look, these guys do not want to stay, do they? If you look on there, you can see a little glint on the edge. Let's see if I can. That right there. So that's the hone is hitting on the edge and then at the very top of the bevel. So all I got to do here is I like to do it this way. And I can watch it and see that the sheen develop on the bevel, right? So I just go like that. And that's all you really need is just get that bevel clean again, flip it over, and do the other side. So you can do that for a long time before you need to go back to the grinder. And if you want to keep it flat, then you just keep going with flat too, right? You'd get rid of your bevel, your hollow ground, and it'd be flat. So if that's something you want, then that might be where you want to go. Any other questions? Yep. Yeah, so George is a proponent of the flat grind, and that's I think maybe a valid opinion. To me, I haven't really noticed that much with a flat versus a hollow ground, but I would attribute it more to where is your edge at in time and space is affecting how you get a catch. But if you think, and again, a lot of it's how positive thinking you are. So if you think that I can cut better with a flat edge, then go right ahead and do it. And because a lot of it is having the confidence to move through that cut and get to the end. So I'm gonna move back here and do some turning then.
Hey, Pete online, if you, can you click open that chat and see if it's a question for us? Kind of monitor the chat room, and if there's a question for us, relay that, okay? And you'll probably have to turn your mic on.
I have it open, Doug, and so far there haven't been any questions.
You're able to hear me and understand?
Yes, thank you.
Good. We can always ask questions too. Okay, so I have a piece of white oak here. It's a little green. I'm going to first show you, let's see, cuts. So I am just guesstimating where the middle is, since I've been doing this a while. If if you have trouble doing it, you can start with, let's see here. How's that looking? So you can take a point and jam it in there. Let's see if that, well, there it is. You can see it. I'll do that on the other side. And I will even get in there, and if it's off a little bit, I'll just play around with it if I can save wood, but it's just a practice piece. So I have a stub center on here. Can you see that? Yep. So it's got a bunch of teeth on it. So this just pops out, but and it's got a point that's on a spring in there. So it gives you a little pressure back pressure. And this is just a standard live center. My lathe, the little pin likes to fall out, so now I just automatically check, but it's over here. So the pin doesn't fall out and my tail stacks spin around. Okay, I'm gonna start with I'm just gonna call it the combination tool, but it's got the flat. Yeah, if you can zoom in on, I'll just keep it real small. That look good out there? Oh, you don't have it yet.
Now they can see it. Oh, man,
Good? So this has one side is horizontal and the other goes to the, past 70, maybe 60. Well, this one excels at peeling, right? So the first thing I'm going to show is peeling, which is kind of levering the tool in. Let's go. Can you go to wide shot maybe and show my tool handle?
I can do this right here.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, perfect. So right now I'm perpendicular to the wood, so 90 degrees, and my tool is down. My tool rest, I should have talked about that a little bit. So my tool height is set so that when I'm cutting, I want to be up here at around, sorry, I'm jumping around, 10 o'clock-ish. So noon, 9, 10:30-ish right in here. So as this gets smaller, I may even lower my tool rest so that I keep cutting a little bit higher than, so right now I'm at or a little bit above the center line. Okay, so back to peeling. My tool handle's down, and what I'm going to do is lift it up and ride that bevel and make an arc down towards the center line. So I'll just start a little bit on the edge. I'm not going to go all the way down. And I can move along and clean it up a little bit. You can see how it kind of frays up. So I don't really like doing that necessarily, but that is a strength of that tool. This is a spindle roughing gouge. Here's what I would typically do is use that to, well, kind of the same action, right? I'm 90 degrees, maybe a little bit in the direction I want to go. Just tighten that up a little bit.
That's basically the same cut, right?
Basically the same cut, yeah. But again, with that, I get a lot of fiber to, maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I think if you were architecturally turning and had a big, newel post or something, you could just and clean that up in no time with this. So I'm gonna go and use a different one now.
What angle is your spindle roughing gouge?
What grind is it? 40.
You want that?
Yeah, let's go to top real quick. There we go. So this is ground. Let's see if I hold it this way. You can see that it's ground straight across. And then the bevel angle is 40 degrees. That works for me. I'm sure you could make that a little steeper if you wanted to. And I'll do that grind later too. Let's do this one. So another peeling cut, so same action, I'm 90 degrees, and you can see that, maybe zoom in on top now. So I'm doing the same action, but you can see that I have the skew angle now. So if I come in straight, you can see I make a little dovetail, right? I could come in like this. It doesn't work quite as well because it, levers up those. Doesn't work the best, so it's really works the best coming in straight down. So that's peeling, right? So we're coming in and arcing towards the center line. I'm gonna move to planing. A slightly different cut. So I'm going to, why don't you come to the top there? So I'm going to use the heel. So I've raised my left side to the point, and now I'm anchoring on the tool rest, and then I'm going to come into the wood and use that arc, use the skew angle to just plane along. I can go both ways. And I can change that angle to kind of what works the best. So depending on what type of wood, you may get that curl. This is a little wet, so it's holding together pretty well. I'll just do this real slow. Then we'll look at the wood. So I still got some, I didn't get quite so, but you can see how, I think you can see how smooth that is, right? I mean, that's very smooth. So the benefit of the skew then is you don't have that much sanding to do. Go back to that angle. So I'm anchoring and I'm out about 45 degrees. My tool handle's down, so I'm cutting up there around on the cylinder around 10:30. Just gently moving it along. Now, am I cutting with the edge or am I cutting with the point? And that's a good topic there. If I was to use, let's just go to the beading tool and do the same thing. So here's my tool down, maybe a skew angle of 45 to the wood. You can see I have to cut with the edge, right? The minute I start turn, oh, excuse me. The minute I start turning that wood, I'm going to cut with the edge. So maybe, maybe not the best strength of this is planing on a big surface, right? Because you don't have as much surface to play with. So you can see it's not quite as smooth as with the bigger skew. I'll do the same with the Badan. So 90 degrees again. Let me get my tool rest a little closer. Okay, so tools down, skew angle 30, 45 degrees. I'm just gonna do a planing cut. And it's probably just, the size of this is not that big, but if I had a bigger bedan, I think I could easily, do that and get a smoother cut. But if this one excels at tenoning or the peeling cut, so I'm gonna do that. I can do the same with the beating tool. Well, this wood again it's wet, so it's a little fibrous. But you can see I can get a pretty clean, that's a very clean cut there too. But yeah, it didn't do very well on the ends. So I've done peeling, cleaning, and now I'm gonna do slicing. So I'll just come back to the bigger one. All right, so I'm gonna start on the end here. And somewhat similar to peeling, so I'm using the point of the tool, the toe, and I'm going to move it in an arc towards the center line again, and I'm going to clean up this side. So I'm slicing across the end grain fibers in this case. And my bevel, okay, is going to be just a little bit off of that perpendicular. So let's say here's perpendicular, and I'm going to move it just a degree or two off. And then I'm going to tilt it a little bit this way too, so that what I don't want to do is come in there and get the edge like that, it'll catch. Right, so I come in a little bit off and a little bit tilted. So I can clean that up very nice. Over here, do the same. Sometimes if you get a little thick, it'll be hard to get down, so either regroup or see if you can scrape it out of the way. Can everybody see that? Maybe if I keep the light on. No, it's still dark there, isn't it? All right, so slicing with that. I'm gonna move to my round one and do the same thing. So get my point set. I cock it a little bit and then push in and move it in an arc, handle up. Any questions on that? Okay, so I'm gonna move that slicing and make V cuts and then start combining and make a bead. So I'll be planing on a curve, if you will. Let's see, making a V cut. So basically you need to make space here to get into the wood. So I start with a kind of lever it in, right? So take the long point, push it in, and then I move to the side and do the same thing, but I've just taken the side off. I can keep doing that and push down to the bottom of the V. And I can also switch to the other side and do the same thing. Like that. I can alternate or just keep doing one side and then clean up the other. So you can see I've gotten down pretty quickly just by making those V cuts. Now, if I take, start with like a planing cut, and this is where I'm gonna make a bead. I'm gonna take that edge off, and here I'm using the heel. Let me just think about this. So I'm, my shield keeps coming down. So I'm going to rotate that. So I got my handle down, and then I'm gonna move it in towards the middle and be vertical, right? So at the bottom of the V, I have to be vertical. So here we go. So I'm cutting with the corner here. I'm gonna slow down the lathe now and just show you where you can get catches. So if I'm vertical at the bottom, you can see I can push it into the wood, right? I'm pretty safe. So if you're thinking about that, that I get to the bottom, that's kind of, I have my tool vertical, that's pretty safe. If I hit the wood at an angle, see what happens? That's where, you know, things are gonna happen. So the position you need to be in then is riding that bevel all the way around. And I'm gonna do it real slow here. What you don't wanna do, you can come off, right? So see how it came off? No problems there. If I go too far this way and I'm not riding the bevel and my tool's at an angle, it's just gonna come back and catch, right? So that's what's happening there. Yep, so in this case, I am leading with I'm actually using the point, and you could also do it where you're not using a point, you're just up there, and you'll probably get a little cleaner cut. Which is one of the pluses of this then is that brings that bevel kind of out of the way, right? So you're gonna be cutting with up somewhere up here. So if I do it with this tool, you can see that I'm cutting just off the edge. And when I get to the bottom, I'll be vertical. If you're having problems with it catching, I found if I kind of accentuate that angle, so see how far I'm bringing my angle over. So I'm going to bring my handle out quite a way. I'm going to accentuate the skew angle I have. So when I get down here, I'm almost not really skew cutting. I'm just levering around vertical, right? So you could call that safer until you build up confidence. So let's just say I'm vertical and you're kind of just pushing it in, right? It's not preferred because you're not going to get a smooth cut. You're going to have ridges up and down. And that will help you build confidence to, you know, get the speed up and get your edge up to 10 o'clock and bring it around like that. Okay, so we've done the left side of the bead. And the correct way of doing this would be to switch to your left hand now to do the other side, right? So now I've switched and my right hand is supporting the tool, left hand has got the handle. Start in the middle there. You can see I'm not quite as, there we go. Sometimes you just got to get that mass out of the way. Much better with this one. So the same thing, my handle's down to the left. I'm rotating and rising a little bit, and then when I get to the bottom of the B, I'm vertical. And you can kind of come up and clean that up. You can also do it with the point leading, which may be a little easier to learn with. So I'm going to do another V here real quick. Okay, so same angle. I got the tool down to the right. I'm going to get the point in and bring it around. Like that. All right, any questions on beading? Exciting stuff. All right, so maybe move on to making a handle then. Okay, let's go back up here. We're looking there. I'm sure a lot of you made tool handles before. Raise your hand if you made a tool handle before. Yeah, so we've got a lot of experts here. This is one of the first ones I've made. You're just not getting a lot of light, are you? So this is a brass pipe fitting, which is like this. And the process is basically turn your cylinder, drill your hole for the tool bit, size it for your ferrule. You want to make sure you drill your hole first, because if you do it, it'll always get off center a little bit. So if you do it after you've turned everything to size, then you're good chance your tool bit's going to be off center. And you can turn this brass with any high-speed steel to make a ferrule. So that's what that one is. You can even see the threads. I think I went through too far. You can see the threads.
Thought that was detailing.
Or, yeah, detailing. This is one I just made this week just for this tool bit. It's 2 pieces of thick-walled pipe and then a copper ferrule. So I'll show here's one that's before it's glued in, but it's got 2 pieces of steel and then a tapped set screw. There it is. Boy, it just doesn't show up very well, does it? Right there. This one will do a 1/2 inch round, yep. This is a 5/8 actually. And here's the 2 pieces of just mild thick-walled steel. So I got this at Central Iron and Steel off of Alpine and Leonard. You can just go in there and they add pipe on the wall, and you can, if you're local anyway, you can find 2 that you want to, get the right size. So this is 5/8 hollow. And then I'm not quite sure what the outside is, but then another piece that, goes over the top of that. And then you end up with this. So I just epoxy them together. I tried to solder and I can't get enough heat to, when I do get enough heat, my flux disappears. So, or brazing. I tried brazing. So if anybody knows how to braze or solder, then. Well, this is, a buck of steel. And the copper, so the copper ferrule, right, is just a water pipe fitting right there. And then you can cut that on all these too, just make a jam. I just made a little piece of oak that would fit these actually. And then you can actually cut in with your skew even. And so this fits on there, and you put it on your lathe. This won't be able to see it online, but so this is in a chuck, and then you can hold it up to there and come in with a parting tool, or a skew point was probably the best. Then you get a little ring like that. And then in this case, I would then glue in those 2, and then you're ready to go. We'll go ahead and do that. Everybody get that, how it goes together? So cost was, it's basically nothing. And if we wanted to, as a club, we could buy a bunch of it and cut it on a chop saw. Well, there's time of, you got to clean it up, and you can, I polish this, that's why it looks so nice. Just hit it with sandpaper and the file.
Otherwise, you can buy them for $20. That was where you're headed. So if your time is worth more than $20 an hour.
Or if you like, just making your own stuff, then, just for fun. You're right. You could you could spend 2 hours in the 3D printer and then,
It doesn't take 2 hours.
well, I'm playing to my audience, right? I know there's a few value customers here. Yeah, I did. Actually, I was. Well, I'll tell you what. So in a park nearby, I've been eyeing this white oak tree that been fell down and they cut it and moved it to the side, Not sure it's be a waste of that nice white oak, so. Went and got it and I wanted to have some table legs, so if you split, your wood, this is the old, Roy Underhill kind of approach, but you split it and then you get the strength of that wood in the split, right? You turn your table leg and it's stronger leg. So I did that, and this is some of the smaller stuff that had knots in it. But yeah, that's.
You were just born in the wrong century.
I was. I like making stuff. It's just as fun as. Okay, I need a bigger tool rest. It's down here. But this wet white oak really stinks. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn a tenon on the end. I'll rough this out, flip it around, put it in a chuck, and then I'll flip it around, or then I'll drill the other end for holding the bit, and then finish it off. I'm going to use my spindle roughing gouge. Tighten everything up. It coming through. Okay, so I'm gonna make a tenon on the end here. So turning speed 1600. I think my point's off a little bit because it likes to grab on slicing cuts. I'll use the Badan parting tool. Clean up that edge. Okay, pop out my drive. Wrote my own check this time. It's a Vic Mark. It's got some smaller jaws in it. Hopefully I didn't make it too small. So if I use the point and then use that before I tighten it up, it'll be centered pretty well. Gotta find my bars now. Huh. Here they are. So this truck has 2 bars on it if you've never seen them. This is a Vic Mark. So I'm gonna, you can see I rotate that, make sure that it's seated well, and then you can get a pretty good tightening on it. Just gonna clean this up a little bit. So you can see I can use it. Here I've got it all the way rotated over. I'm using what I call the flatter edge, I guess, or the vertical side. If I go over here. So I can get I have a lot more tool in contact with the wood, so I can get a very nice flat surface. When I was shaping or roughing it down, I was more at a skew angle and using the bottom of the gouge. Gives me more clearing action, if you will. Okay. So if I take that support off, that's running pretty good. I'm gonna switch this out to a Jacob's chuck for drill bits. So I just have a spade bit here, and it's 3/4. Top. So 3/4 inch spade bit, which fits the diameter of that mild steel that's gonna go in. I bet I didn't bring a chuck key. Let me see if I don't think I did. It might, I'll just see if it. So I don't want this to wobble at all. And I could draw, pre-drill a hole too. Oh, it's it's about, it is the same size of, yeah. You can see it's starting to wobble on me, so. I did bring a smaller bit to give me a, no, I probably can't get this out. There we go. So I was using Forstner bits and, um, if you sharpen a Forstner bit and maybe you get one side more than the other, it was drilling off at an angle. So I seemed to have better luck with the spade bits. Oops, I can't do that. What I can do is come back with the skew maybe and see if I can get rid of that wobble. But this is too much pressure. You can easily knock that off center. Not too bad. Well, nothing ever goes exactly right with turning, so you got to be able to adapt. So the pilot bit, drill bit, It's gonna hopefully allow that speed bit then to stay straight. And I need to go in. So if my marker was working, I would mark it on here. So I'm going to the bottom of the bit. My speed, I don't have to I don't have to be going very fast. This says 500-ish. Found one?
This is why I think it's very so.
I got it. So hold on, I might need to get out of here. Probably too big, yeah. Too big. Perfect. In fact, it's very nice. So I just glue it in with epoxy. Okay, so now I switch this back to the live center. So the next thing I need to do is set the diameter of my ferrule, which is this. And I'm just gonna rough out kind of the general shape. So if this is this end of the tool, it's kind of nice to have a little bulge here and then taper off. So you can adjust that to what feels good to you. If you have a bigger hand, then maybe you want a bigger than what they sell in the stores, right? So I'm cutting downhill, right, down green. So if I'm starting at the bulge here, I'm cutting this way. When I get to the inflection point, then I'll switch over to here, just keep my green smoother. Okay, so I have my calipers set. When I get close, I'll start to make that more of a taper. Well, it already is a taper. So that I don't blow by and I have a little bit of safety diameter, right? Okay, so I'm gonna pull this off now. When I cut it off, just because I was using the skew, I got a nice little curve on the edge. So I kind of like to put that on the outside and it'll just bend over naturally. You can see I forgot to straighten up my edge, so I'm gonna do that. So this is the actual part you'll be able to see, so I want to have that straight across, cleaned up. So we're there. Too nice a fit, right? Just a little bit. So I want to have that as a nice fit also. So I'm even relieving that a little bit. There we go. You can see I'm a little bit proud, so I got to come back a little deeper. Okay. So now I just finish shaping it basically. So I'll use the skew now. Yep, 1600. So I'm pretty happy with the shape for the most part. So I'm gonna do my cleanest cut if I can. You can see I'm even, instead of the skew angle, sometimes it cuts better when I'm a little more horizontal to the wood for that final smooth cut. Not cutting very nice. I think it needs to be sharper. Just thinking that. Or maybe else. So white oak does not like to be cut on the end. Seems a little thick, maybe. I don't know. I gotta go back to this. This is, yep, white oak. Not sure what that was. Maybe my. If you hear a noise, you want to check it out, right? Got 30 guys helping me out here. That's good. A little rough spot here. Well, I should stop playing around with it. So pretty much there. And I'll just part it off. If I was at home, I would do some sanding and maybe a little better job on the end here. There it is. Pass that around. Got time for some grinding? Sharpening? Question was, do I use the tool rest? Yep. Yeah, yeah. Is that enough light over there? Where are we on the grinder?
No, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that'll
Just leave this.
leave it there.
Okay.
I think we got enough.
I'm just gonna put this on real quick. Is that, you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I need a chair because that's a low rider grinder. Um, let's do this one. I am. How's that? Okay, so this one's 70 degrees across. Um, Maybe when you were asking that question, what do I start from? So this is the round tool steel. So basically I would have started and got myself that 70-degree angle and then just flipped it 90, working my way down to give me this. So I grind it. I'm looking at that edge right there. And I want it to be perpendicular. You can't see. So you can see I'm perpendicular to the wheel. If I was to grind it like this, which is parallel, so the tool steel is parallel to the wheel, it gives me a really long bevel and really hard to use. So here's how I do it. I just do that right there. And you kind of, it's easy to be off a little bit. So you just kind of gently settle it in there until you feel it, match the hollow grind. And then you just push in a little bit. So here, I'll go ahead and do this one. This thing really vibrates. So I'll just move it back and forth a little bit. If I start to see sparks coming over the top, then I know I'm hitting that bevel. Let's see if, yeah, I think it was doing right there, so. Then flip around. Yes, it's hot, but ooh, you can pass that around. All right, so again, this is set at basically 20 degrees. Here's 40 over here. So I'm just going to, since this is flat, you really have a good base of reference to go from. So I'm just going to bring it up, and then when it starts to hit, I'm going to rotate it along. I can tell right away that's a steeper grind than I would have been doing at home, but that's all right. got a good burr on it. So you don't want that burr on there. Unless you're using it as a scraper, which you can. Negative rake scraper. All right, and then straight across. So here's the beating tool. Just go perpendicular, bring it right up. We're back and forth. And you can pass that along too. You're doing on time, is that?
We're after 11.
I think we're done then, yeah. I can turn a few other things, but I think we're probably done. Any questions?
Use a micro bevel on most all your stuff?
Well, the micro bevel really comes from the hone. So using that stone. Oh, that looks like a micro bevel because I'm not quite matching on the grinder. So the grind was actually at the very tip of these. Any questions? This is CBN wheel and are you familiar with those? It's a, does anybody know what CBN stands for? Carbide. So it's a very hard material, and they're bonded to the wheel. So it's not friable like the white aluminum oxide. So they're long lasting and they don't make as much mess and you know, they come in, yeah, you don't create as much heat. So I think probably most everybody is switching over to those, would be my guess. So yeah, these were the original, depending on how old you are, but it used to be the gray silicon aluminum, I don't know what they were, but the gray oxide wheels for, you have a high speed, so 3,200, and you would, you know, it runs hot, and so they developed these for wood turners to be a little more cool running, and so they break off, they're friable, and they're really not the best either because they make a lot of dust, and they still heat up more than some of the more modern stuff. Yeah.
The white one you use grinding on, there's different grits for that. What do you typically use?
Let's see. So I personally have a 220 of this, I think, at home. And that's where I do most of my grinding because just because it runs so true, you're more inclined to use less, you know, material, steel off your tool, right? So it's just a quick kind of touch up and off you go again. Yeah, this, I don't know what this is. Okay, this is 220. This could be like an 80 maybe, or a 120, probably.
I got a 600.
600, okay. Yeah. The first one I bought was 220, and then somebody ground carbon steel on it and carbide bits, and And I bought another one and. But somebody, I don't know who's snuck into my shop and did that, but. But I didn't upgrade to higher grit. I don't think she cared at all, really. What are you talking about? Any online questions? All right, well, hope you learned something today and give Skew, if you haven't used Skews before, give them a try. And, you know, if you want to come over to my house or I can visit, you know, and give you some one-on-one, that's fine, you bet. And we're doing the hands-on too, so that's it.